The series begins with an ancient story. It said that there are 99 magical keys hidden within this world, containing demonic powers called mantra powers. Legend says that if a person collects all 99 of these keys, they can become the god of this world. They will become so powerful that the entire world will be at their feet. But obtaining these keys is not easy. Each key has its own unique power, and there is only one way to obtain them: to fight the other key holder. That is, to fight the person who possesses that magical key. But this battle isn't fought with hands and feet. It's fought with the mind. When two key holders face each other, a game is declared. They ask questions and play mind games. The winner takes the other's key, and the loser often loses their life. Our story begins in a dense forest in Southeast Asia. Here we see a young Japanese man named Teresa, who is happily wandering alone. But trouble arises when a local tribe captures him. They think he's a spy or an enemy, so they tie him up in a hut. A man comes and asks him who he is and what he's doing, but Teresa remains silent. They only learn his name from his passport. At this point, we learn that the situation in this village is dire. Water is so scarce that no one has drunk water in days. All the rivers and ponds have dried up, and people are dying because of it. While listening to the villagers, Teresa notices that the old key hanging around his neck suddenly starts moving. The key was pointing south. Seeing this, Teresa tells the villagers that if they dig in the south, they will find water. The people here didn't trust him, but they had already dug in various places. This was a hope for them. When they dig at the spot he indicated, a miracle occurs. Clear water begins to flow, and the entire village celebrates. Tears well up in the leader's eyes, and he apologizes to Teresa. He says, "We misunderstood you. You saved our lives. What do you want?" Teresa tells them, "I'm looking for an ancient key." The villagers had a very old and precious key. It was kept for sale in case of any crisis in the village. But now, because Teresa had solved the village's biggest problem, they agreed to give him the key. But Teresa returns the key to them, saying, "This is not the key I'm looking for." This reveals that Teresa set out for a specific purpose. Teresa leaves, and we are shown a flashback. At this moment, he was remembering his father. His father had given him the key, telling him that it was a devil's key, and that anyone who possessed it could change their destiny. The key Teresa had at that time had previously belonged to Teresa's father. But one day, a man named Ojit murdered Teresa's father to obtain it. Teresa was able to survive because he had the key at that time, and now Teresa is searching for the remaining 99 keys like it. Teresa returns to his senses when news reports surface that prominent businessmen are suddenly dying, leaving their wealth to a man named Moko. Teresa sees a man in the pictures. This was the man who murdered his father. We learn his name is Nek. In the next scene, we see Moko, his every action dripping with lust. He was sitting in front of a wealthy man. At this point, we learn that Moko possesses a magical key. Using its power, he defeats Honda in a game and takes all his wealth. Honda then died with one last cry of, "Demon Key." Seeing this, Teresa realizes that Moko possesses a key. Teresa meets his father's old friend, Uncle Ryan. Ryan reveals that Moko has gained a lot of wealth in a very short time. To fulfill his goal, Teresa sets out to find Moko, and in the process, he also meets his old friend Nisha and his genius friend Michael. Michael is a software engineer developing an AI app called Rushi. However, he can't find ANY investors. Teresa is currently working at a chocolate factory, so he can quietly conduct his investigation. But one day, before Teresa can find it, Moko arrives at Teresa's house with his goons. He knew Teresa had the third key, having previously obtained 2 similar demonic keys. Here, Moko challenges him to the EKMA game. As soon as the game begins, a large demon monster appears. The demon declares, "No one can leave this room until the game is over." The game is called True or False. Moko demonstrates the superpowers of his keys and says, "I have frozen this room with my superpowers." We see that the room actually begins to freeze. The game becomes even more difficult for Teresa. He had to answer every question correctly, and now he had to answer them in a short time. Otherwise, he would die of the cold. Teresa hides a coin under a cup and asks Molko if it was under the cup. Although Molko had noticed that Teresa herself had removed the coin from under the cup, he was in no hurry to answer. He thought there must be a drawer under the cup. There could be a coin in that drawer, stuck under the table, or lying on the floor. Teresa was trying to cheat him. Realizing this, he replied, "Yes, there's a coin under the cup." But there wasn't one, earning Teresa a point. The next question asks Molko if there are 4 large shops within a 1-kilometer radius of this place. Molko concentrates and mentally checks if there are 4, but there are 7. He says, "Yes, there are." But Molko considers his answer wrong, leaving Teresa deeply confused. Next came Teresa's turn. Teresa asks Molko if there's a bomb under this place. Molko, without understanding, answers no and wins. How could this be possible? Teresa remembered very well that there were some bombs from the wartime era under this house. It was here that Teresa realized that Molko's power wasn't actually freezing. His power was something else. He had used his power to move this room to another location. It could be the Himalayan mountains, where it's so cold. Keeping this in mind, Teresa carefully makes his final answer, and by answering the last 2 questions correctly, he wins. According to the deal, Molko had to tell Teresa where to find his father's murderer. Before he could reveal the details, the murderer himself, named N.E.K., received a call. Suddenly, Molko vanished into thin air, his magical key falling to the ground. Teresa realized that this game was extremely complicated. A famous underground fighter named Mark, who calls himself Thomas, arrives in search of him. Thomas is extremely powerful and easily wins illegal fights, using his magical powers, not his own. Thomas attacks Teresa's friends, Michael and Nisha, to force Teresa to play a game. The game's name is Shadow Step. The rule is simple. If you step on your enemy's shadow, you win. Thomas is extremely powerful. He chases Teresa. Teresa runs for his life, as Michael and Nisha try to help him. Thomas thinks he's won, but Teresa has a trick. He's made a fake mannequin outer cloth. When Thomas steps on the shadow's head, Teresa uses his powerful powers to freeze time and comes behind Thomas and stands on his shadow's head, thus winning the game. This is where Teresa's goodness is revealed. He doesn't kill Thomas and lets him go. After talking, it's revealed that Thomas isn't a bad guy either. In fact, his mother, sister, and father were killed by the same mysterious group, and he was collecting keys to get revenge. When they both discover they have the same enemy, Neck, Thomas becomes Teresa's bodyguard and most loyal friend. The investigation leads them to Neck's company. Neck is very dangerous. He launches a direct attack and kidnaps Nisha's mother and brother. He threatens her, saying, "If you want to see your mother and brother alive, come to my secret island for a grand tournament." Teresa, Michael, Nisha, and Thomas all wake up alone on the island. The island looks like a fortress, with drones flying in the air, each equipped with bombs. If anyone loses a game or tries to escape, the drones will blow them up. Hey! Teresa matches up with a girl named Yuki, a famous singer who also has a key. Their game is treasure hunt. There are several tables in a room, each of which has to hide a coin. The other has to guess where the coin is. Yuki has a unique power, super hearing. She can hear so keenly that she can hear the sound of coins being placed from afar. She always guesses correctly, and Teresa is losing. But Teresa uses his brain. He notices a fire alarm in the room, just in time for him to hide the coin. Teresa sets off the alarm. The sound is so loud that Yuki's ears are deafened, and she can't recognize the sound of the coin being placed. During the alarm, Teresa changes the coin's location. When Yuki returns to normal, she calculates the sound of coins being placed, and chooses the wrong table, thus losing. Teresa takes away her key but won't kill her. She is saved because she, who was always alone, joins his team after seeing Teresa's kindness. Meanwhile, Nisha and Thomas are on a team. They face a chess master named Old George. The game is called Golden Gun, Silver Gun. It's a game of trust and greed. The decision is whether to share or save points. Thomas takes all the penalties to save Nisha and starts losing badly. But then another idea comes to his mind, and he wins the game himself. Nisha loses, and she fears that her brother and mother will be killed. But then a truth is revealed. Thomas saved Nisha by doing this. If Nisha had won against Thomas and lost to someone else, Nisha would have lost everything. Thomas spared Nisha's life by letting himself win. During this entire game, Teresa, along with his partner Yuki, goes to a bomb-safe computer and hacks it. He removes a bomb there and, using this hacking, discovers where Neck is keeping Nisha's brother and mother. He then rescues them through his father's friend, saving Nisha's entire family. Hey, the second game begins, called clay modeling. They have to create a statue from clay. The second person has to make some changes to the statue, and the third person has to guess what has changed. Hey, Thomas plays a very clever move. To defeat George, he knew George's weakness, his deep love for his family, his wife, and his son. Therefore, he created statues of George's wife and child and placed them there. He was told that George would become emotional after seeing them and lose. But George was emotionless. He ignored his family's objections and focused on the game, thus winning. Thomas loses all his keys, a huge blow. Everyone feels bad, but George explains, "I'm not bad. I was forced to do this." In fact, Neck has his wife family in prison too. As they talk, they realize that if they continue playing these games, they'll never defeat Neck. Neck is deliberately using their powers and trapping them in the game, so they can forget their real issues and their rivalry with Neck. Teresa makes a plan to escape and defeat Neck. He heads to the island's tower, where bombs are planted. Teresa uses his hacking skills to hack the tower and turn off all the drone's bombs. Teresa then heads straight to Neck's headquarters. A major twist occurs. Neck smiles and says, "I'm not the boss. I'm just a servant." And hey, Neck stands aside, and from the darkness emerges a man called the Guide. This man is none other than Sawyer, Teresa's own father. The father for whom Teresa had cried for so many years, endured so many hardships. Teresa was surprised to see him. He was alive. Sawyer explains that years ago, when Teresa's mother died, he was broken. He felt the world was bad. He faked his death, so he could quietly collect the 99 keys. His plan is to use the power of these keys to destroy all the world's governments and create a new, perfect world. Hearing all this, Teresa is deeply shaken by his father's madness. He says that destroying the world to save it is wrong. If his father destroys this world to create a new one, what guarantee is there that it will be perfect? Sawyer challenges his son to a final Ikeme game, saying, "If you win, your word will be accepted." The game is called Word Investigation. Each player must write a secret word in a box and guess it by asking questions. This wasn't just a game, it was a battle between father and son. Sawyer is incredibly sharp. He reads Teresa's mind. He uses Teresa's childhood memories to help him guess all the words, and this is where he taunts his son. He says, "I know you better than you." He also reveals that to win, he's taking a drug called Theoprobe to sharpen his mind. This puts Teresa in a difficult position. But his friends, Michael, Nisha, Thomas, and Yuki, support him. They remind him that his strength lies not in his mind, but in his heart. Teresa relaxes and prepares for the final round. In the final round, Teresa tries to guess what his father wrote. He realizes that his father will write the name of the drug he's taking. Teresa's answer, Theoprobe, turns out to be correct. He wrote the same drug, and now it's Sawyer's turn again. He has to guess Teresa's word. Sawyer thinks Teresa is emotional. He thinks he must have written his grandmother's name. But Teresa shakes his head. The word he wrote was Chocolate. Sawyer is surprised. Then he remembers that Chocolate was the name of the chocolate that Teresa's mother used to make at home, and that Teresa loved very much. Although it wasn't perfect and it was cheap, it had a mother's love. This word symbolized all the happiness that Sawyer had forgotten while chasing powers. Sawyer realizes he was wrong. He admits defeat to himself, and thus Teresa now possesses all 50 keys and orders a demon to stop all attacks on the world. Thus, his efforts save the world. But Neck, who was watching all this, goes mad. In a rage, he takes out his gun and shoots at Teresa. At that very moment, Soyo jumps in front of his son, taking the bullet that was meant for him. Seeing this, Neck presses the island's self-destruct button and runs away. As he dies, Soyo admits his mistake. He hands a bag of keys to Teresa and says, "Go, son, there's a temple in Cambodia. Destroy all these keys forever." Soyo was dying. Teresa wanted to save him, but Soyo said, "No, you can't save me. Let me die here." Hearing this, Teresa breaks down in tears. He becomes emotional. He was about to lose his father once again. The building collapses, and he dies. Michael and Thomas barely manage to pull him out. They escape in a boat, leaving the headquarters behind, destroyed in the crash. The story ends with Teresa not alone in the Cambodian jungle. Thomas and his friends are with him this time. At this point, he has 50 keys, and he knows his journey isn't over. After destroying these 50, he must find the remaining keys and destroy them all. Teresa looks up at the sky, remembers his mom and dad, and sets off with his friend for a new life and a new mission. And with all this, the movie ends.